Well, with me now is the Shadow Minister for Industry and Decarbonisation, Sarah Jones. Good to talk to you this morning. The Prime Minister has made it very clear what he thinks we should be doing in order to still meet our net zero commitments. Let's be clear about Labour's. If you're elected, would a Labour government move back the date for the banning of new petrol and diesel cars to what we thought it was until yesterday, 2030?
Yes. Look, the Prime Minister doesn't get it. He's weak. He gives in to Liz Truss as soon as she speaks. What he doesn't get is that net zero is the biggest economic opportunity we have in the 21st century. We live in a country where we talk about former industrial heartlands. This is our chance to get rid of that label, former, and to bring jobs across the country and to cut bills. So Labour has a plan that will create jobs and cut bills. We're going to insulate millions of homes, so we're paying less for our energy. We're going to introduce 8 gigafactories, which will turbocharge that electric vehicle industry so that we can make them here and not rely on them from other countries. We're going to set up a national wealth fund, which will invest alongside the private sector in all the industries that we need to see in the future. And we're going to have renewable, clean energy, which will make us stop being reliant on the likes of Putin for our energy. This is our one opportunity. Rishi Sunak has blown it. The government have blown it over 13 years. They haven't invested. The car industry has dropped in terms of employment by nearly 40% since 2010. The government has failed to negotiate with Europe. So there's a cliff edge coming on the 1st of January where the car industry is facing 10% tariffs on sales, which is just going to destroy our UK car industry if the government doesn't get a grip. So this is weak, it's wrong, and he has really thrown industry under the bus.
OK, so the Labour government would go back to the 2030 ban on diesel and petrol cars. What about the home installation rules, the dates for replacing boilers? Would they also go back to the dates that the government had set for before yesterday?
Look, when it comes to heat pumps, the government has utterly failed to get us anywhere close to being able to meet this target, and that's just an admission of guilt from
but what would a Labour government do? Would you still tell people that they had to replace their boilers with heat pumps?
Not to those timescales, no. We know that the market is just not there on heat pumps. The government have failed. You need home insulation before you put in a heat pump. Home insulation has fallen by 90% since the government got into power. Labour would insulate people's homes, which would cut those bills. There is no market for heat pumps because the government hasn't created the incentives for one. And the grant system for these kind of things is all over the place. You just have to speak to anybody who's tried to apply for one. So that's an admission of failure. It's their failure. They need to own it. And we know those targets are not going to be reached. But
so if those targets aren't going to be reached, isn't the government right to announce what it's announcing then? Isn't it just being pragmatic, saying, look, these targets aren't going to be reached, the industry hasn't kept up on us, we're going to make it a more realistic target?
It's not realistic. It's just an admission of utter failure from this government to do the things they promised to do. That's all it is. And when it comes to cars and the 2030 target that we do want to keep, and we do think industry need that certainty, the government is claiming that this will save money for people. Where is his numbers on this? Because the vast majority of us buy second-hand cars. I've never bought a new car. And second-hand sales for petrol and diesel will continue beyond 2030. But what this abandoning of the target does is it makes us more reliant on oil and the global marketplace, which is all driven by what Russia and the like are doing. So it makes us more vulnerable. It makes us miss all the opportunities we can have to create new jobs and skills in our country by incentivising and encouraging electric vehicles. And it shows that the government just has no industrial plan whatsoever and is happy to see decline in an industry that should be thriving, that is the automotive industry is a jewel in the crown, something that should be our future, not just our past.
So the automotive industry over the next year will now be working to these new targets. We don't know when another election will be, but they're going to know that if they vote for a Labour government, they're going to have to move the goalposts again. That does not give any sort of stability for the motoring industry, does it? It suggests that if a Labour government they're going to bring a Labour government in, they're going to have to change all their rules yet again. Isn't that more uncertainty for the car market? Wouldn't you be best off just saying, we're going to stick to what Rishi Sunak has announced here to give all voters certainty?
Look, what Rachel Reeves has been really clear on is that Labour will not do anything that damages our fiscal rules, that we will invest in a sensible way, that we will walk hand in hand with business so that we can create jobs for the future. They need certainty. We had a debate on the car industry just a couple of days ago, and I spoke to the umbrella bodies and individual sectors for that debate. They all said, we need certainty, we need clarity. The government is flip-flopping left, right and centre. He's changed his mind now. Is he going to change it again? Who knows? Depends what Liz Truss tells him to do. They crashed the economy last year. Business is desperate for certainty. And if you talk to the car industry, they will also say government needs to sort out this cliff edge on the 1st of January when it comes to Europe and this 10% tariff on our cars that is heading our way and that the government seems blind to.
How worried are you about this affecting Labour's chances in the election? I think if you look at today's papers, The Guardian is the one that's only openly critical on this. The Mirror, traditionally Labour's supporting paper, buries this story on page 8, which seems extraordinary. It says to me that they know that there are many Labour supporters out there who may well support this, who may well think that they are not that worried about reaching net zero targets because they can't afford to get to the end of the week. Who is reading the mood of the nation better here, do you think? The Conservatives or the Labour Party?
So the Conservatives caused the cost of living crisis and they have no plan to tackle it. People are worried about their bills. That is the starting point that most people are coming from now. Inflation went down by a minute amount yesterday. We are facing a winter where lots of people's bills are going to go back up in terms of energy. Labour would cut those bills by, on average, £1,400 by insulating our homes and having a renewable energy drive. We would create the jobs of the future. If you look at those industries like the car industry, higher wages than the national average, good, skilled, reliable jobs. That is what people want. They want a good job and they want lower bills. And that is what Labour's plan will deliver. They know after 13 years of the Conservative government, nothing is working. Our public services are crumbling. No one feels better off. And we know there's no plan for government. This is desperate times for Rishi Sunak to try and win an election that is running away from him already.